The unmatched precision and whisper-quiet sound signature of a bolt-action sniper rifle combined with the dynamics of a semi-automatic airsoft replica. This is what many players think about when talking about their ideal DMR build. To achieve all this was the main goal of my latest project build, using the Wolverine MTW 308 Unleashed as a platform. In this video, I'd like to show you which external and internal parts I added, how the build performs on the shooting range, and why I think I really maxed out the potential of this HPA DMR platform. Stay tuned. The MTW 308, as you see it here, comes right from the Area M airsoft field. If you did not see my gameplay video of that day yet, feel free to check it out. The most important upgrade of this system is that I changed the original Inferno Gen 2 engine to the fully mechanical closed-bolt Reaper M engine, which fits the characteristics of a true DMR very well in my opinion. The trigger has a well-defined breaking point now, which requires a certain amount of force when pulling. Speed triggering and all this stuff definitely is not possible here. You also can hear the nozzle is retracting in the forward position only when the trigger is released. This ensures enough time even for the most heavy BBs to reload inside the chamber, which is a quite underestimated feature of the Reaper M if you ask me. As this Unleashed build is equipped with the Wraith X stock, there is no need for an external hose and HPA rig. The 4500 PSI tank replaces the stock tube and has enough air for more than 1000 shots in this playstyle. The only real downside of this regulator is for me that every single time you unscrew the tank, there is a huge amount of abrasion from the metal threads coating. I've tried several lubricants from ProTech to Concave Tech T in order to reduce the friction, but no product was able to prevent this completely. What I'm trying next is the low friction grease from Perfect Airsoft. The packaging says it's ideal for HPA setups, so I'm curious how this will prove its qualities over time. There are even more lubricants for special use cases in the portfolio of Perfect Airsoft. He's a nice guy bringing very interesting innovations to the airsoft community, so feel free to check it out. A few words on the magazines I'm using. Those are relatively cheap CMA mid-caps, which are rebranded by Begadi. They can hold up to 130 rounds, however I only fill them with up to 90 BBs, which is one casual speed loader, to give mid-cap syndrome no chance. I also tried other brands, for example the PTS EPM LR Max, but I found the CMA ones give me way better results on the MTW for a lot less money. This is why the PTS Max are not actively used on this build anymore. So, now that you know the basic specs of this DMR build, let's check the external parts I added here. Because I've been asked for it several times now, let's start with the scope I'm using. Believe it or not, this is a simple Swiss arm scope with fixed 4x magnification, which I bought second-handed for only $10 because the typical field rules over here require an actual scope for being accepted as a DMR player. I had the chance to compare it to much larger, heavier and more expensive scopes on the market, but I always came back to this one. As it weighs only 467 grams, it does not increase the overall weight of the build too much and works efficiently enough for me on the field. The UTG block mount allows me to quickly attach and detach it to the top rail, so I can also use this on my Spring Sniper Airsoft for example. Another highlight I really like on this build are the Hera Arms leather accessories, the pistol grip and the vertical front grip. Those are actually meant for the real steel market, but with a little modification they also fit the MTW. For example, if you want to use the pistol grip with a battery-driven HPA board, you need to drill a second hole for the cable on the top side. However, on this configuration with the Reaper M, I could also have mounted it just the way it came. The puristic leather strings and the Made in Germany labels add some very lovely details to this build, while the leather segment in the front was manually done by myself. I think Hera Arms also sells a similar leather handguard, but I preferred the cheaper DIY solution here. I record the scope perspective of my gameplays with a Runcam Scope Cam 2 in the 1080p version. There's nothing special about it, but it still offers me reliable 60 FPS recordings in decent quality. I'm planning to convert this one into a packbox cam again. In case you would like to do the same, please find the link to my tutorial in the upper right corner. The suppressor I'm using for my HPA build you probably already know from my Billet Unleashed videos. It's the very same Norwich modular suppressor, which really makes a notable difference when it comes to your sound signature on the field. But I do wonder if there is even more possible. I do have some things in the background waiting for you that could be worth another silencer video in the future. Make sure not to miss it. Then there is this lumpy Harris-style bipod in the front. I actually wish I could uninstall it to save some rate on the rifle, but unfortunately most fields I play at require a bipod as well to let you play at the higher DMR energies. So I guess I have no choice and keep it installed, although I never actually use it. And this is basically all I can tell you about the external modifications I did. Let's switch to the internals now. Because the Reaper M engine does not need any kind of electronic controls, I removed the Spartan trigger board and the original trigger from the lower receiver. You may have noticed there is one body pin missing. It's because without the board, the pin has nothing to grip on and would fall out again, even with the original little metal clip that's probably meant to hold it. Maybe I will cover the holes in the future, but it's not really necessary to be honest. Most of the modifications have been done inside the upper receiver. The black and reddish thing, which is covered in white dust, is the max feeding tube, which is meant to improve feeding capabilities and to hold the remaining BBs in place after you remove the magazine. It's actually way more comfortable to release the last BBs with that large black latch compared to the original solution, but I have no clue why there is such a lot of BB dust in there after only one full game day. I will have to keep an eye open for this issue, as I have never experienced that in this extent before. In order to make the Reaper Gen 2 work inside the MTW 308 Unleashed, two things have to be done. First, it has to be installed upside down. That's not really a problem, as the orientation does not matter at all for the engine and the nozzle. Second, you will need some kind of a bridge piece or adapter to close the gap between the trigger and the mechanical pilot valve. In the AR-15 style MTWs, this is a plug-and-play solution, but as the body of the 308 is a little longer, you will have to improvise. In my case, I 3D printed an adapter, which was designed by Cal's 3D user JollyFancher. Making this fit is as easy as could be. Just make sure to place it in the correct orientation, so the vent hole for the pilot valve is not blocked. This is how the final setup would look inside your replica if the upper receiver was transparent. I actually thought it would be more tricky to make the Reaper 1 inside the 308, but it actually worked in my very first attempt. In this combination, you get all the benefits of a fully mechanical closed-bolt system. It's such a pity Wolverine does not build these engines anymore. If there would be a similar or even improved engine in the future, based on the same principle, I'm sure this would make many MTW owners very happy. For the inner barrel hop-up configuration, I rely on a combination of stock and upgrade parts. While the inner barrel and the hop-up chamber are still the originals by Wolverine, the C-clip is made by Retro Arms, and the hop-up adjustment wheel is the proper one by Silent Industries, which I only chose because it matches the Reaper engine so well. Inside, I decided for the G&G green bucking as my #1 solution against bad BB placement and mid-cap syndrome. If you need more information on this, I recently made a separate video where I explain why the G&G green is so popular among the MTW community. Again, it is linked in the upper right corner for you. The tensioner in this setup is a concave rubber spacer by Begadi, which looks similar to the Maple Leaf Omega, but is more flat in its profile. I found it works a little better than the Omega, but why this is the case, I really don't know. At this point, I'd like to share an additional piece of information with you. Did you know Wolverine have slightly modified their stock plastic Hopup chambers? In the newer ones, that come with the 308 Unleashed models for example, you will notice a little hole to center the BBs inside the chamber before they are pushed inside the bucking by the nozzle. This hole can't be found on that older unit. I made contact to the Wolverine support. The reason they made this is mainly to prevent double feeding. So, in case you suffer from such an issue, this could be a proper solution for you. So, now that you have seen all the important parts of my build, you probably would like to see as well how the 308 will perform. Let's go outside and find out. After the first shot usually is a little hotter than the others, we got some solid 1.8 joule-ish Chrono readings. The DMR rules in Germany, where I play usually, allow up to 2 joules, so I still have a little buffer here. For the shooting test, I used the outdoor range at area M and checked their target's distance markers by laser rangefinder, just to be sure they really are correct. When aiming correctly, single shot hits on 60 and 70 meters are no problem with this MTW. As you can see, I was aiming a little too high for those first targets, but you can tell from the adjustments I did, this error easily can be corrected. At 80 meters, it becomes kinda hard to see if the BBs hit the target or not, but the range definitely is there. With a group of 3 to 5 shots, it should be no problem at all to hit the opponent even on 80 meters, which I would consider to be the maximum effective range of this replica. My fellow Airsoft YouTuber German Airsoft Dude tested his stock 308 Unleashed on the very same targets some months ago. Obviously, 80 meters seemed to be the limit for him as well, although he used some lighter BB weights, I think. Thank you very much for letting me use this footage of yours, mate.
Oh. Oh. Ja, okay, das geht beim Arm. Das tut hier noch weh, Junge.
After completing my first game day with the finished build and see the results of the test and post-edit, I am quite satisfied with the performance of this DMR build. Let me tell you, it was quite a long journey with a lot of new learnings, testing various Hopup buckets, chambers and overall combinations until I found this reliably working long-range setup. In my personal opinion, there is not a lot more possible by using different parts. All attempts of using R-Hops or the very popular quantum bucking, for example, did not work for me. What do you think of my setup you just saw? Do you have a better performing MTW and would like to share the parts list? Feel free to share it with the community and use the comment section. If you liked this Airsoft video, I'd be glad to welcome you back soon to another one. So long, as always, have a good one.